Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How's everyone doing today? Hope everyone's doing well, alhamdulillah. We are moving along almost to the middle of Ramadan, subhanallah. Tonight we're on hadith number 13. It's almost halfway with our 30 hadith challenge. And let's jump right into it, inshallah. Today's hadith. We can put it up on the screen, Brother Amr. Oh, Final Fantasy. That's not the hadith.
Hold up. What is this?
Wow.
I'm having technical difficulties, man.
I'm not sure what the source of this hadith is here, too.
Oh my god. Hold on, Sahib.
Yeah. So today we read from the 12th juz of the Quran. We read Surah Hud. We completed it, and we started Surah Yusuf. And we'll complete Surah Yusuf tomorrow. These are beautiful surahs, by the way, where you find many stories of the prophets. Especially in Surah Hud, you'll find stories of many of the prophets in the past, how they dealt with their people, and how each had a different, unique challenge. So be sure to read them. When we recite them, we keep the translation up, so inshallah you're able to follow there. But if you missed it, make sure you at least read the translation. And then the story of Yusuf, of course. There is no story in the Quran that is given in more detail and completeness than the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. A beautiful story indeed, from the time basically he was a child all the way to the time where he was raised, or placed on the throne, and became someone of a very high status. Even though he was already a man of high status, since he came to this world, he was a Nabi of Allah, no matter what the situation was, whether it was when he was in jail, whether he was, a slave, even a son, and then of course at the end when he was the treasure of society, of the society that he was in. Um, he was indeed the honorable Yusuf alayhi salam, the most noble person to walk on the face of this earth, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned. So it looks like Omar is still having technical difficulties here. Omar, are you having trouble here? Omar, are you there?
Yeah, sorry. It's just not coming up. Can you give me a few more minutes?
A few more minutes? Okay.
Yeah.
Inshallah. Maybe you might want to change that background until you find it, inshallah. You can see you're a Final Fantasy fan, mashallah. But anyway, um, so that the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, beautiful story where lots of lessons are extracted. And as you know, he was one of the most beautiful people to walk on the face of the earth. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned that as well, that he had half the world's beauty. And as you know from the surah, when the queen who wanted to seduce him brought him out in front of her friends and her company, they were amazed by his beauty. And while they were cutting their fruits, they were so distracted by his beauty that they ended up cutting their own fingers. Um, some mothers, while they're pregnant, they like reading Surah Yusuf in hopes of their son or daughter becoming very beautiful. And that's cute, but it's not quite from the Sunnah. But I don't want to hold you back reading the surah, because at the end of the day, it's still a surah from the Quran. But don't think that that will necessarily cause your child to become beautiful. Inshallah, they will become beautiful, and you can make dua for that. But also, don't forget to make dua, more importantly, and to become righteous people, people that are beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, people that stay on the straight path in this life, so that they enjoy eternal happiness in the hereafter. Um, Omar, are you still there with us? Omar? Looks like Omar left.
Gonna be right back. He's having a little technical difficulties.
I see. Okay, no problem, inshallah. Um, Khair. I will mention the hadith to you, and then once it's ready to be shown on the screen, I will go ahead and show it there, inshallah. But the hadith, hadith number 13 is, oh, there it is, mashallah, on the screen. Just move the Zoom app away, akhi. Move, minimize the Zoom app. There you go. Leave it right there. Here is hadith number 13. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أنزل الناس منازلهم. Treat people according to their status. رواه أبو داود, or the source of this hadith recorded by Imam Abu Dawud, collected by Imam Abu Dawud. Now, some of you may be wondering, what does this mean exactly? Does this mean that we treat people, uh, you know, who are rich differently, those who are poor differently? Does this mean there's no equality in Islam? No, that is not what this hadith means. I have some points here I wanted to discuss. I just want to make sure I don't miss out on them. But the first point regarding human rights, all people are equal. This does not mean you give special rights to certain people and you take away rights from others. It also does not mean that a single person or particular person is exempt from the punishment of Islam. Obviously, if you were to live in a Islamic society and a ruling would be ordered, against someone, just because that person is of a certain status, you don't just forgive them. Everyone is treated equally and they are judged equally. And unlike society here today, celebrities or sports stars, they get away with a lot of things. Sometimes they get away with murder, but sometimes it's theft, sometimes it's abuse, felonies, you name it. They get away with it. They'll just get a slap on the wrist many times and don't do it again. But if it was the average Joe, they would be serving time in jail. So this is not allowed in Islam. Just because someone is of a certain status, you issue different judgments and you give them different rights. No. But what is meant here, though, is that certain people do deserve a little more respect. So, for example, if you have like a major scholar coming to your masjid, or an imam, you don't treat them the same way you would a normal person. Okay, and that doesn't mean that you're practicing inequality. No. But rather, certain people do deserve a little more respect, and that's totally understandable, and it's very appropriate actually. For example, your parents. You're gonna give them extra respect, more than you do to your siblings, right? Even though you should respect your siblings too, but the respect to parents is even at another level. Same way for an elderly person versus a younger person. Are you going to treat a younger person the same way you treat an older person? Not necessarily. Will you treat them both nicely? Of course. But will it be the same way? No, not necessarily. Maybe with a younger person, you might joke a little more. With the elderly person, you might, be more formal. You might be more respectful. Um, Maybe even, perform more khidmat for them, right? Um, Khidma, can be translated as, not honoring someone, but, you know, taking care of them. And, that comes in many forms, entertaining them, hosting them nicely, and so forth. So it's not going to be the same for an older person or younger person. Same way with people in society. Some people have higher statuses, and if you happen to, have a person come into your home or your work that has a higher status, you treat them with a little more respect. That there is nothing absolutely wrong with that. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ encouraged that, and this is from the Sunnah, is that you treat people according to their status. So if like a homeless man were to walk in the masjid, are you gonna have a big round welcome versus someone who was coming in and was let's say a commissioner or some type of deputy, or had some high status, maybe the mayor of the city, whatever it may be. Does that mean you are simply respecting someone because they have more money? No, that's not the case. That's not the case. We don't love people just because they have money, but sometimes people that have money, they do have a level of status with them because of the good that they have done with their money. So just because someone has money necessarily doesn't give them a high status, but if they were performing lots of righteous deeds, they donated a lot, they helped society, there is a level of respect that you should give them, and that's totally within the boundaries of Islam. In fact, it's from the etiquettes of Islam. But I do want to mention, we as individuals should never expect um, that type of respect. Meaning, the Prophet ﷺ, actually mentioned that woe to the one who, um, you know, likes for people to stand up when they enter. This, you know, cursed is that type of person who does that. They they have a problem with arrogance. Now, if someone happens to stand up for someone out of respect, that's fine as long as the person does not expect the people to do so. But the people doing it themselves out of form of respect for the person, that is fine. I should never get to a level where you are worshiping someone and putting someone on on a high pedestal or something of this nature. But there is a level of respect that we should give to people according to their status. And you all have experienced this, and you all will do this. You won't treat your boss the same way you treat your colleague. You won't treat your kid maybe the same way you treat your wife, and mother and sibling and so forth. Same way with those who are honored in society. There is a level of respect. It is not inequality by any means. So please get that clear. And it does not alleviate someone from being accountable for crimes or mistakes or sins that they commit. When it comes to that, everyone is treated equal. So I hope that is clear, inshallah. If anybody has any questions, let me know, because I don't want this message to be misconstrued. If not, that's good. Um, I hope everyone understands this message. This is very important, by the way, that we apply this. Remember, the Prophet ﷺ himself applied it, the companions applied it, and we should do the same as well. أنزل الناس منازلهم. Treat people according to their status. It does not mean inequality, but rather the respect someone deserves. Like for example, when you go to the masjid, any masjid, there's imam parking. Someone might say, why are you giving the imam parking? How come I don't get my own parking spot? Well, the imam's leading the prayer. You don't want him to get late coming in, so you designate that spot for him. Are you being, inequitable in this way? Not really. There is a certain respect that imam should get. He's doing something honorable for the community, and you don't want him to be held up. So you give him that spot. Hopefully no one has beef with that. It's just a small example, but I hope you get the point, inshallah. Anzilu nasa manazilahum. Treat people according to their status. Rawahu Abu Dawud, recorded by Imam Abu Dawud. So now let's run by and do a quick rundown of all 13 hadith real quick. Hadith number one, Ad-Dinu Nasiha, the religion is sincerity, recorded by Imam Muslim. Hadith number two, Ad-Du'a Mukhul Ibadah, supplication is the essence of worship, Rawahu Tirmidhi. Hadith number three, Al-Mar'u ma'a man ahabba, a person will be with whom he loves, Rawahu Bukhari wa Muslim, or Muttafaqun alayh. Hadith number four, حُبُّكَ الشَّيْءَ يُعْمِي وَيُصِمُّ, your love of something might render you blind and deaf. Rawahu Abu Dawood. Next hadith. Al-anatu min Allah wal-ajalatu min ash-shaytan. Calmness is from Allah and haste is from shaitan. Recorded by Imam At-Tirmidhi. Next hadith. Al-haya'u la ya'ti illa bi khayr. Modesty does not bring anything but goodness. Rawahu Bukhari. Recorded by Imam Bukhari. Next hadith should be At-Tuhuru Shatrul Iman. Purity is half of faith. Rawahu Muslim. Hadith number eight. Al-Khamru Jumma'ul Ithm. Alcohol constitutes many sins. Rawahu Razin. Hadith number 9. Inna Allah Jameel Yuhibbul Jamal. Allah is beautiful and He loves beauty. Recorded by Imam Muslim. Next hadith. La darara wa la dirar. Do not cause harm or return harm. Recorded by Imam Ibn Majah, Sunan Ibn Majah. Hadith number 11. Man samata najah. Whoever is silent has been saved. Rawahu Tirmidhi. Then yesterday's hadith, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تغضب. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم was asked for advice from a companion. He said, do not get angry. The companion repeated that same request, and the Prophet ﷺ again said, do not be angry. Rawahu Bukhari. Recorded by Imam Bukhari. And then today's hadith, أنزل الناس منازلهم. Treat people according to their status. So this is something really important. Wallahi. These are gems for life. And you know, a lot of times people don't get this and they end up in trouble. Like for example, at work, you might, joke with a colleague a certain way, but then when like a manager or an administrator comes by and you try to joke with them the same way and they think, what is wrong with this guy? Is he not serious about his job? It can lead to lots of problems. So you have to know how to deal with people, especially, if you meet someone for the first time versus regularly knowing them. The first time, are you going to be very loose and firm with someone, and or maybe even joking in a way that you would joke with someone you've known for many years? No, you should not do that. You don't even know the person yet. You haven't even developed rapport with them. You don't have a type of feel. So you have to also consider the time that you know someone also. This is also very important. Treating someone according to the status, you should also take into consideration how long you know them. Don't get too comfortable sometimes and they think you're a weirdo, or they may not do business with you, or they don't want to work with you and so forth. So uh, things to really consider. Where do you draw the line when someone has a high occupational status but bad character or bad attitude? I'm usually quiet and respectful, but when is it necessary to say something? That's a good question. So if someone has a high status, that does not exempt them from any advice. What's the first hadith we mentioned? Ad-Dinu Nasiha. The religion is sincerity. And what was the rest of that hadith actually? Lillahi wa li kitabihi wa li rasulihi wa li a'immat al-mu'mineen وعاماتهم, right? And it is for advice. This advice is for Allah, His book, His messenger, for the leaders of the believers, and the common folk. So no one is exempt from receiving advice, or if they do something wrong, you can kindly let them know that they're doing something wrong. So if someone with a high status, sure, they're being shown respect, but everyone may not know about their bad character or bad attitude. But if you do run across it, I've run across it many times. Some person's a really big shot, and you meet them, and when you're talking to them, they're not even looking at you. I remember one person was, known really well in society, and every time I would talk to this person, he's looking up at the ceiling. Like I'm saying salam to him, wa alaikum salam. I'm like, Akhi, I'm in front of you. I'm not up there. you know, um, it's sad sometimes, but at the same time, there is nothing wrong with advising them. Hey, uh, you did this and this. You might want to consider that. Doing that might offend someone. That there is nothing wrong. In fact, you should just do it in a nice and polite way, maybe privately, maybe send an email, be nice about it. But there is absolutely nothing wrong with calling them out. Of course, privately, not you don't want to do it publicly and shame them, but um, no, that should absolutely be done. Sometimes cultural ways play a role when it comes to status and respect. Um, yeah, uh, culture definitely plays a role when it comes to status and respect. In certain cultures, certain members of the family are given a lot of respect. Sometimes imams are given lots of respect. Imams in general are given respect, but like in certain cultures, they really respect imams to the extent where they are infallible, and that should not happen. Everyone makes mistakes, and if you make a mistake, a person should be advised about it, and you should try, your best to help them correct the mistake. Um, so, always keep that in mind. There is a balance that Islam teaches us. No one is above the law. At the same time, if they do something wrong, no matter what their status is, you have the right, and it is your right. In fact, it's a sunnah that you should advise. Remember, the first hadith, ad-dinu nasiha. This religion is sincerity to every single person. So no one is exempt from that. I hope I answered your guys' questions. Yeah, inshallah. Anything else, inshallah? I mentioned that I would inform you all about some du'as. We talked about anger yesterday and how sometimes certain people anger you so much, and you lose your cool and you're not able to maintain or compose yourself. The first thing you should always say is "A'udhu billahi minash shaitan rajim." Seek refuge in Allah from shaitan. You have to do that. If you don't do that, then shaitan will overpower you and get to the better of your emotions. And then, of course, yourself. You have to save yourself from yourself, because we have our own desires sometimes that overcome us and lead us to bad things. So one of the du'as you can make is Allahumma qini min sharri nafsi. Oh Allah, save me from the evil of myself. Save me from the evil of myself. And you'll hear this dua um, actually in every khutbah. So Khatib will say something. وَنَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنْ شُرُورِ أَنفُسِنَا وَمِنْ سَيِّئَاتِ أَعْمَالِنَا. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil of ourselves and the evil of our deeds. Sometimes it is because the deeds we do that lead to problems for us. We don't always know for sure if that's the case, but that is a possible reason. So you should always seek refuge in Allah from the evil that we commit, and we ask Him to save us from it as well. In fact, that is one of the du'as from the witr prayer, the qunut, the first dua we learned. وَقِنَا شَرَّ مَا قَضَيْتَ, or وَقِنِي شَرَّ مَا قَضَيْتَ. Save us from the evil that you have ordained. Sometimes something evil is written, or something bad is written to fall upon you, but you can make dua, and inshallah that situation can be removed. The same way, sometimes something bad can befall us because of a deed that we performed. Sometimes sustenance is held back because of sins we commit. إِنَّ الْعَبْدَ لَا يُحْرَمُ الرِّزْقَ بِالذَّنْبِ يُصِيبُ. Verily, a servant he or she prohibits sustenance on himself or herself because of sins that they commit. So we should always ask Allah for forgiveness from our sins, from ourselves. That is the first thing, inshallah. I mean, we'll learn some more du'as as well, but we have to look at ourselves first, always, inshallah. Um, so with that, inshallah, we'll end with a dua tonight, the same one we did last night, inshallah. Um, and we sent this dua to you in the group, so be sure to take a look at it. And I'll put it up here so I recite it the same way it was sent, because the way I recited last night had a slight variation, but the same meaning, inshallah. So here we go. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك وحبيبك محمد وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين اللهم لك الحمد أنت نور السماوات والأرض ومن فيهن ولك الحمد أنت قيم السماوات والأرض ومن فيهن ولك الحمد أنت الحق ووعدك الحق وقولك حق ولقاؤك حق والجنة حق والنار حق والساعة حق والنبيون حق ومحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم حق اللهم لك أسلمنا وبك آمنا وعليك توكلنا وإليك حاكمنا وبك خاصمنا فاغفر لنا ما قدمنا وما أخرنا وما أسررنا وما أعلنا أنت المقدم وأنت المؤخر لا إله إلا أنت لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين وصلى اللهم على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين. This dua was sent to you in the group, but sometimes when an imam recites it, there might be some variation. Like yesterday, towards the end, I said, أنت المقدم وأنت المؤخر وأنت على كل شيء قدير. It's still a praise of Allah. Of course, the best way is to stick to the exact hadith and recite it the way that the Prophet ﷺ used to. But sometimes an imam may add to it, not intentionally to change it, but maybe this is just something that naturally came out while they were making the dua. So it is not to change by any means. But of course, what you want to memorize is the exact script from the Prophet ﷺ. But keep in mind, sometimes there are variations just from a few words here and there from different hadiths. So don't get too stirred up if you notice a different word here and there. Remember, at the end of the day, this is all supplication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So with that, we'll close for tonight. Jazakumullah khairan, and we'll see you all tomorrow night, 9 p.m. with hadith number 14. Can you add me? Yeah, inshallah, Omar, if you can add that phone number to the group, inshallah, we will do that. جزاك الله خيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.